Well, welcome to this edition of the Botanical Medicine Study Course with me, Stephanie Georgiev, your host and instructor on all things botanical medicine. If you would like more information for the online course in all things botanical medicine, click the link in the program notes for a free introductory video and handouts. At the time of the posting of this episode, we're still in the month of February, which, according to the self-help section of online news sources, February is a wonderful month to actually start your New Year's resolutions. It's also Heart Health Month. So, in the spirit of both these February initiatives, we'll be continuing our exploration of certain heart health herbs. So for this week's Herb of the Week, we'll be exploring a beautiful tree that is quite ubiquitous throughout Northern Europe, the British Isles, and parts of North America, the linden tree. This beautiful tree is known by several names, which can sometimes get a bit confusing when you're trying to find out information. There are several different species of linden under the botanical name of Tilia. One of the most confusing names I have found is lime tree. Now, as a Southern California gal from Orange County, I associate lime with citrus fruits, and this tree is definitely not a citrus tree. The species that is the most healing specifically for the heart is Tilia platyphilios, and it is the flower and leaves which are used medicinally. Now, Tilia platyphilus is also known as large-leaved linden. You can say that 3 times really fast with marbles in your mouth. And is a species of flowering plant in the family of Malvaceae or Tiliaceae. It's a deciduous tree and it's native to most of continental Europe, as well as Great Britain, and it tends to grow well in lime-rich soils. Now, the common name of large leaf linden is a standard use throughout the English-speaking world, except, of course, on the British Isles, because those Brits want to be different, and they call it the large-leaved lime. Now, the name lime is probably a corruption of line, originally from lind, and this has been used for centuries. So it's just, I don't know, it depends on where you're coming from. I say stick with linden. It's not as confusing as the other names. Now, Tilia platyphylos, it basically in Greek means broad leaves. And it's a wonderful, wonderful plant. And usually you'll see it. And I can tell you here where I live in southwestern Bulgaria, there's so many linden-lined streets. It's just a beautiful, beautiful tree. Now, there are wonderful actions of this herb. And the reason why we're looking at it for Heart Health Month is it is a nervine, which means it helps tonify the nervous system. It has antispasmodic properties. It's hypotensive, and hypotensive is the fancy word, which means it helps lower blood pressure. Now, the next property is called diaphoretic, and it's probably one of the reasons why both of these things together help reduce blood pressure. But diaphoretic means that it opens surface capillaries and it helps you sweat. And diuretic, which means it helps get rid of extra fluids in your body. It also has anti-inflammatory properties as well as astringent. Now, linden is a wonderful remedy for nervous tension. And this obviously nervous tension is a major stressor for the heart. So this is good to help relieve anxiety. It's also a valuable remedy in that it helps prevent arteriosclerosis, which is something, it's basically the hardening of the arteries, which gives you high blood pressure. So it prevents that, and it also helps prevent hypertension. It's very healing and tonic for the entire cardiovascular system. And because of its diaphoretic properties, some people with certain types of migraines say that this herb helps. Um, Not only does it help prevent, it might help during a migraine attack. Linden is also good to take if you have a fever, and a good strong tea. Usually tea is about a teaspoon of dried herb to a cup of hot water. Well, you need to use 3 teaspoons of this herb to help get rid of that fever. And it's wonderful in that it's very, very safe. Now, the main chemical constituents of Tilia platyphyllos, there's lots of what we call bioflavonoids. And bioflavonoids just are good for everything you can imagine. But there's quercetin and fraxin and rutin and epicatechin and all kinds of chins. It also has coumarins, polysaccharides, tannins, which gives it the astringent property, as well as an essential oil. So there's all sorts of good things in there. Now, one of the most popular ways to take linden is through tea. Now, when I was living in Albania, they made what is called glico, which is basically like a sugar preserve. So anything you can imagine, they would put in sugar, and it macerates and basically turns into this delicious syrupy goo. And they did that with the linden. So that's kind of a fun way to take it. You make linden glico, and then you put a spoonful of that in some hot water, and it tastes lovely. You can also get linden tincture. You can take it in capsule form. Now, what's really wonderful, and this is probably one of the first times you'll ever hear me say this, there's no reported side effects or cautions with long-term use. Now, if you have access to a tree, you can just harvest the leaves and blossoms when the blossoms are blooming. And you can take bunches of these things and either, hang them in a well, like you've seen the things they do with like lavender. Well, you can do that with linden. You make like a little bunch and you hang it, off a rafter in a well ventilated area. It smells nice and it also looks really pretty. If you don't want to do that, you can use a food dehydrator and have your own stash of linden leaf and blossom to use as your uh, heart desires, pun intended. Now, linden, as I said before, grows well in northern climates. Now, the trees grow quite tall, and the slide on the right-hand side of the screen, apparently this is someone on Reddit that said they had a 600-year-old linden tree. Now, that's quite a large tree. It can grow like 30 to 60 feet tall. So I don't think this would work really well in a container. Um, I would suggest going to your local nursery and getting a small tree or trying to plant it from cuttings. It says that it likes lime-rich soil. Um, I do have a link in the program notes on how to grow linden in your backyard yard or garden. And again, I'm not sure if this would be a good container plant because it grows so tall, but it's really beautiful. So however you want to use and come to appreciate this beautiful plant, either in your backyard or garden as a shade plant, it's certainly wonderful for attracting pollinators. And you can have this wonderful herb to harvest and have to use to improve your heart health or as a cold and flu remedy. So this is Stephanie Georgiev saying, make sure to check out the links in the program notes. And I hope you have a wonderful February, appreciating and caring for your heart. And until next time, be well.